Hello, AAAM. How are you? Thank you for coming to this today's session with Artwork Archive. Today we will be speaking about strategies for how to get your museum online through this time in the pandemic. As you know, or for those of you who do not know who I am, my name is Vidette Coleman Robinson, and I am the Executive Director of the Association of African American Museums. Our organization has been around for 43 years. February is our anniversary month. So just this past February, we turned 43, and we are here to support all African and African American focused museums throughout the country. Even if a museum has an exhibit that is geared towards African art or African American history and culture, we want to hear from you and we want to support you. So you do not have to just be specific to African American museums and culture. And then we are also a global organization. We have members who are in Japan and in Africa as well. So we're really, really excited. And I'm not going to start calling out names on here right now or regions because I'm going to get in trouble. But there are several regions on this call who have super great attendance from their membership, and then also making sure that we stay on the minds and hearts of our members. So thank you so much. Just some housekeeping items. Please make sure to use the chat feature to post any questions for Alicion and team. And whatever we do not get to today verbally, we will make sure to check the chat and get them to her so that she can respond directly. Please, in the chat, feel free to post your name and institution. We want to hear from you. We want to know who's here. And then also the most important thing is to make sure that you are on mute. Several of us are still home, and as I shared with Alicion, some of you know that right before the pandemic, we got a puppy, and then during the pandemic, we got another puppy. So, and then before all of this, we had another dog. So we are 3 dogs in on my side, and some of you are looking at me like, oh my gosh, how did you do that and why? I don't have the answer other than the fact that we needed a bunch of love. And there were animals that needed love. So just please make sure that your microphone is off and on mute. And Paige, can we go to the next page, please? And I've already given the mission, but here's the slide for it. The Association of African American Museums is a nonprofit member organization established to support African and African American focused museums nationally and internationally. Next slide, please, Paige.
Oh,
and now I am going to pass it on to Alicion so that she can speak about Artwork Archive. Alicion and I have been, I feel like, super best friends since we met virtually last year. Actually, it was 2019. So way before the pandemic, and she was telling me about Artwork Archive, and I said, you need to meet our members because the stuff that you have is bar none. The services that you offer are absolutely phenomenal. And then they also have grants, right, Alicion, that I feel like our members will also enjoy. So I am going to step back and I'm going to give the floor to Alicion, and thank all of you guys for dealing with my rambling as I'm waiting for my coffee to kick in. But I love you, and I will put myself on mute now. Thank you, Alicion.
Oh, thank you for that lovely intro, Vidette. And thank you to the Association of African American Museums, the entire team for helping make this presentation possible. It's been a joy working with you, Vidette and Camille, on this presentation. And thank you to everyone on this webinar for taking the time to learn more about bringing your museum, your organization online. Before we start, I'll just share a little bit about myself. I am the head of growth for Artwork Archive, and like I said earlier, we are based in Denver, Colorado. Artwork Archive is an online art inventory management system, and we work with artists, collectors, and art organizations all over the world to help them organize, manage, and share their artworks. I am the daughter of artists, art therapists, and art educators, so the creative process has always been in my blood, and I've worked in the arts since graduating from Middlebury College. An expedited version of my CV is that I've worked in art museums, I ran a public art program, I made online art classes, I curated and wrote for art publications, and I got my master's in public humanities, and am an art maker myself. So that's enough about me. Let's get into the content you came for. So Paige, next slide, please. All right, so since here at Artwork Archive, we work with museums, we've heard a lot about how they are handling this historic time. Unfortunately, as we have all seen, there are the situations on the left: disorganization, restrictions, and budget cuts. On the positive side, a lot of organizations are using this bizarre time to refocus or pivot. It may be because they have found more time on their hands with social distancing and closures, or with these uncertain times, they're thinking about what's next. And maybe they're getting puppies. So here's why we're seeing museums move online. So before COVID, we'd hear from organizations that their art collection and documentation was in a bit of a disarray, that they needed to get their arms around the collection, to organize it, to digitize large parts of it, that they were stuck with file cabinets filled with paper files. And during COVID, it was a challenge not to have access to those paper files since people couldn't return to the office. Then there were the many challenges of extended closures and restrictions around social distancing, and museums were having trouble and are still having trouble supporting their community members in ways they could before COVID. And right now, many communities are in need of support and healing. Moreover, some organizations are struggling to keep their doors open as ticket sales have halted, events have been canceled, and employees have been furloughed or laid off. So those are some of the challenges being faced, but there are also solutions and opportunities presenting themselves as our organizations pivot online. So we've had a lot of museums subscribe to our art collection management system because during COVID, they finally had that rainy day to start digitizing and bring their collection online. With installations and events at a halt, employees were looking for tasks to do at home. The pandemic was also kind of like a kick in the pants to move towards more modern technology to collaborate, whether that is through communication platforms like Zoom, like we're using, or finding ways to bring fundraisers online, which we'll get into later. There's also, as you're all seeing, the increasing adoption of online exhibits and events. Virtual exhibits used to be an add-on to a physical exhibit, something to be created if an institution had time and resources, but now virtual art experiences have become a priority. And in the past year, people have tuned to the arts for entertainment, as a solve, as a distraction from the isolation of COVID. And the arts have been a way to draw awareness, amplify voices, empower people, and heal communities. So as institutions are opening and vaccines are being distributed, we're seeing an adoption of a hybrid model with both virtual and in-person events. And we believe this will continue into our future. Next slide, Paige. So with this, it's important to note that in this presentation, I'll be using Artwork Archive. We're an online art collection management system, like I said before, so we have a lot of images to share from our clients. We have a lot of great examples of how they've been bringing their institutions online. And so digitization and cataloging may seem obvious for your collecting institution, but I wanted to bring a particular perspective to this. What information are we saving today? And how will we preserve the legacy of our organization, of your organization, and your artists? Plus, an organized digital catalog is so important. You'd be surprised by how much information gets lost or goes missing, even artworks. Next slide. So we are living the history of our organizations, of our museums, of our centers. Everything we do and the impact we generate for our communities is worth saving for future generations to look back upon. Your institution is a big part of cultural heritage and history. The artists, the artworks made, the exhibitions and events programmed, the conversations and dialogue, even the physical space your institution holds. So it's important to continue documenting because art ages, just like our artists, just like us. Our organizations age and go through developmental stages depending on our missions, our community needs, our staff. And some art doesn't last forever. So by capturing the temporary art installations and programming, You are ensuring that your fleeting presence will be etched in a collective memory. Also, I wonder, have you noticed that provenance for artworks created in the 21st century has changed a bit? We're still using our conventional records of receipts, catalogs, photographs, etc., but a new wave of documentation has emerged as technology and society have evolved. So are you documenting these seemingly unconventional provenance details like, I have a long list, artist websites, social media posts from the artist, or that featured the artwork itself, video clips, time-lapse videos of the artworks being made, artist interviews, studio tours, audio clips, online press releases, email correspondences, the list is long. You can upload all of these digital assets to an online art collection management system. And at Artwork Archive, our platform has a field specifically for additional files, a section where you can attach any type of file to the object record, to the artist record, to the exhibition, and more. So you have all of that goodness about the artwork, the artist, and the legacy of that creative endeavor in one place. Next slide. So I'm just going to read the slide, in that it says, today is tomorrow's cultural heritage. What is your organization doing during these times? Your actions today will be historical record tomorrow. So document those virtual events, save communications and community responses, save artifacts like COVID masks and protest signs, photograph murals, record conversations. Here on the left-hand side, we have a screenshot from the Marjorie Barrick Museum of Art. And they used our news section on our public profile to share out what they're doing, because with their door closed, they still wanted to find ways to share out, to show that they were still engaged with their community. So here on the left is a post about an intern's unique COVID experience. And on the right is Cedars, an organization that serves individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, and they're sharing their virtual exhibition. Next slide. So when you record and document, you also want to make sure that that information is accessible and not hidden away in a dark closet with file cabinets. Because one thing we saw a lot during the pandemic, and during this pandemic, we're still in it, is an effort to digitize museum collections and bring them online. It was a goal before COVID, to make artworks and objects in your galleries in storage visible and accessible virtually, but the pandemic made it even more crucial with doors closed. So by using an online database, you'll never lose track of important info. You can centralize all of your collection details, images, and documents in one place and easily find the information you need versus searching through desktop folders, hard drives, or manila folders. And this way you don't have to wait to return to the office to access information if you're staying remote or exploring a hybrid work model. And this way you'll always be prepared. So you'll readily have information when needed, whether that's for an insurance claim, deaccession, or for discussions with a potential donor. Next slide. And if you click again, Paige. So one of the things we learned from COVID is that you can't be prepared for everything, even despite emergency preparedness plans. No one was expecting a global pandemic in 2020, but a benefit of digitizing and organizing your art collection is that you can control, or a collection in general, is that you control what you can control. You'll be prepared for the things within your grasp, whether that is applying for a grant, replying to an inquiry from a researcher or press, or for responding to challenges like natural disasters, which are on the rise. And you don't have to be in the office to get any of that done. You can access the information from home and on the go. Next slide. So museums use technology to create and distribute programming before COVID. But before 2020, the online experience was, I would say, second to the physical one. It was like an afterthought. Resources were concentrated on physical exhibits and in-person programming and events. But this crazy phenomenon presented museums with no choice. With the global lockdown, institutions and creatives had to turn to the internet to provide access to exhibits, events, fundraisers, and education. And within this pivot, they found a silver lining. So despite the challenges of low attendance, institutions still grew their digital audience during COVID. According to the Alliance of American Museums, the Rijksmuseum had its lowest attendance since 1964. Yikes. But the museum experienced a 23% increase in the number of its social media followers and witnessed millions of unique visits to its website, including its virtual collection, the Rijksstudio. Next slide. So I have a lot of great examples of how museums and organizations are providing impact online using our tools here at Artwork Archive. I'll cover online exhibits along with our Artwork Archive public profile, website embeds, interactive maps, and QR codes. Next. So one of the advantages of using an online art collection management system is that you can easily make information public. Here at Artwork Archive, we offer a public profile that is connected to your account, connected to your inventory. So with a click of a button, you can make an artwork public. You can also decide which information is public. So you can share the creation date, medium, and description, but keep, sensitive information like acquisition cost and condition notes private. Here you can see the public profiles of the Marjorie Barrick Museum of Art and Tila Studios. The mission of Tila Studios is to empower female Black artists in Atlanta to increase awareness of and interest in Black female artists. So they love the public profile. They can connect potential buyers and patrons to their artists. You can also embed this public profile onto your website. So museums of all sizes can have challenges with keeping their website up to date. With the website embed, you don't need technical resources. You don't have to double enter information. Your collection records are synced directly to your website. And you're not reliant on IT or your webmaster. So this way, new acquisitions and temporary exhibit artworks can quickly be made accessible to your community. You don't have to wait. Next slide. Okay. An entire presentation can be made on just the topic of online exhibits. So I'll try to make this succinct. During COVID, museums around the world had to quickly pivot and bring their exhibitions online in order to continue their mission and stay connected. Before the pandemic, there was an argument that virtual reality could not replicate the in-person experience, that it cannot replicate the ridges and depth from brushstrokes. You can't walk up to and inspect a miniature or step back and be in awe of an installation's massive scale. But COVID made the argument moot. Without access to the physical works, isn't virtual good enough? And now that virtual exhibitions are here, people are seeing their value. You can create access without geographic or time constraints. Your exhibit is accessible not only to your immediate community, but to a global audience as well. And I'm a glasses half full type of person, and as much as I value the in-person experience of all types of art, I do think there are wonderful opportunities with virtual experiences. Those that may not have the time or confidence to attend an arts event can do so from the privacy of their couch. Those that didn't have time in their day can view an exhibit after putting the kids to bed. Or watching your performances with their kids is their family activity that they do together now. Online forums also provide an opportunity to share without the constraints of a brick and mortar space. So you can share more information. You can embed videos, share artist-related content, and provide more historical context with an online exhibit. The internet is limitless, for better or for worse. So on the right is a screenshot from an online exhibition created from an Artwork Archive account. You can stand up a virtual exhibit in no time. All of your artworks, objects, artists, and educational materials can be accessed from your Artwork Archive account and shared in a virtual exhibit. You can make the experience more dynamic by including curator and artist interviews, guided tours, and additional marketing materials like press releases. And they'll all be included in a carousel to scroll through. A few of our clients, like the Polizak Museum, Marjorie Barrick Museum, which I've shown earlier, San Jose Museum of Quilts and Textiles, and others, used online exhibitions to exponentially expand their reach and made it possible for them to present their virtual events during COVID. And I've heard that once they return to their physical shows, they'll use the virtual exhibits in tandem with the physical shows. And the Marjorie Barrick Museum of Art is really excited about this feature because it enables them to quickly stand up community shows. so they can better support their community members by creating smaller online shows that showcase local artists. They're able to diversify their programming and offerings without overextending their staff or capacity. And a thing to note is I've been saying art a lot. We also work with a lot of collections of historical record. We work with collections of all types. So it doesn't just have to be art, but I tend to just use that word a lot. And I'm going to switch gears here to talk about something else, the last bullet in the slide. So online exhibitions are great, but they are different from what we are used to with physical shows. We've had questions about how do you measure the impact of virtual experiences? We're used to counting ticket sales, attendance numbers, and reviewing in-person surveys. Well, the Polasek Museum did a great job last year quantifying the impact of their online exhibits. They used Google Analytics to track the number of website visitors. They could see demographic information as well as the number of unique visitors versus those that returned. They also shared their online exhibits in their newsletter and counted newsletter opens and clicks. And their plan is to use that information in grant applications to show the impact of the show. Next slide. With an online collection management system, you can also give your curators the tools to organize upcoming shows collaboratively online. You don't have to be in the same room to plan an on-site or traveling exhibit. You can keep track of artworks, contacts, deadlines, important documents like loan agreements and exhibition checklists with this exhibitions feature. And you can also keep colleagues on task, those that need to be kept on task, maybe even yourself, by using Artwork Archive's schedule, which can be synced to your calendar. And you'll get an email from us every Monday morning of what's coming up with your to-do list that week. We also have an artist submission form, which allows artists to submit artworks directly into your Artwork Archive account and thus to your exhibitions. And it saves you a lot of time and back and forth, and is great if you are soliciting a call for art. And one benefit of documenting your exhibitions in a database is that you preserve an archive of your museum's legacy. So much time and effort goes into creating an exhibit. This way, your exhibition lives on and can be viewed by the community even after it closes. And it can be shared to researchers and students, people who are inquiring about that exhibit that they may not have seen in person. Next slide. With online tools like this, you are also preserving the legacy of the artists in your collection, whether they are living or deceased. For contemporary artists, they'll appreciate that they have a more permanent spotlight through your museum. Before, artists would have a spotlight during the duration of the exhibit, but once it was over, it was over. Sure, they may get a mention on the website or in a catalog, but with a public profile, you can continue to tell the artist stories, to share their creative processes and the relationship to your institution. Next slide. So for those of you that may have a large campus, a sculpture garden, outdoor festivals, artworks on loan across the country, you can also share and show the geographic spread of your collection and help people find your art and your objects. Everyone uses Google Maps these days, so now you can bring people directly to the artworks with Artwork Archive's interactive map feature. People can view the spread of your collection in a map view and pull up Google Map directions as shown in the screenshots on the right. And I've also seen organizations have been creating QR code labels right from their Artwork Archive account so that they can share more didactic information with the public. So they're not limited to a placard or a small wall label. When someone scans the QR code, they are brought to the Artwork Archive's public profile page, which I showed in the previous slide, where they can learn more about the artwork, the artist, and your collection as a whole. And I've seen institutions creating walking tours, driving tours, especially during COVID, and other great outdoor engagement while doors are closed and we are safely socially distancing at this time. Next slide. So with your collection online, you make it very easy to share and send information. There are many benefits to this, which is included on the left-hand side of the slide, so you can prove your value and impact to stakeholders and decision makers, share information with board members. You can coordinate loans and donations. You can produce educational materials for local school groups and community members. And you can share out information to researchers and academics that are reaching out to you to learn more. And there are many forms in which you can share this information. The list on the right, or I should say right, are a few of the most popular reports and viewing rooms that are created in Artwork Archive for sharing out this information. One thing to note is with QR codes, they can also be placed within the gallery once people come back in, so that viewers can consume more information about the artwork. Next slide. All right, funding. It's so important. And importance is probably just an understatement when speaking about funding. So COVID dramatically impacted fundraising, right? The older models of in-person events could not be used. So we have seen museums get creative and move their fundraising online, which I'll talk about in the next slide. So like many museums, the Polizak Museum suspended normal operations in the spring of 2020 to help thwart COVID and protect their visitors and staff. The closure also happened during their biggest signature event and fundraiser, the Winter Park Paint Out, which is seen in the screenshot. But the Polizak Museum didn't let COVID keep them from hosting their 12th annual plein air festival. It had to just take a different form. So the museum team quickly pivoted and modified the event into an online exhibition and sale. The Polizak Museum team was able to keep their fundraiser on track with new virtual methods, and they shared that they'll actually be keeping this online format beyond coronavirus because of some unexpected benefits. So first, in past years, they'd invite artists to Winter Park to paint for a week, then sell their painted artworks in the museum gallery. With the virtual version, artists didn't have to travel to participate, and they had more space to showcase since they weren't limited to a 4x8-foot display area in the museum. A second, online sales were easy. Interested buyers could contact them directly through the website. And actually with Artwork Archive, you can generate invoices. You have a PayPal integration possible, so you can make sales easily online. They also had people buying artworks from outside of Winter Park, outside of the community. They weren't limited by in-person visitors. So whether it was people who had moved away from the neighborhood or those that had family in the area, there were new patrons that engaged online, and that made them very, very happy. So the next slide. One big question that we heard during COVID was, how do we continue creating VIP and special opportunities for our members and donors without in-person connections? I wonder if you all had challenges with this as well during the past year plus. So one strategy we've seen is the creation of private viewing rooms with our private rooms here at Artwork Archive. So before an exhibit, the institution would create a VIP viewing of the artworks, a sneak peek, so to speak. And then they would share that with their members before the opening. And they would make this even more special if they were selling their artworks, because it would give the members an opportunity to purchase before it was open to the public. So this was a popular tool that people are excited to continue using. Next slide. And if you are selling online, we have been seeing museums start selling online even beyond their gift shop. So I mentioned this a little earlier with the Polizak Museum. They hosted an online art sale. Others are doing online art auctions. Many are selling reproductions, whether it be t-shirts, mugs, posters, postcards, etc. And our clients have been thrilled that they can make and track these sales all from their art inventory system, which is really helpful. I'm just calling out a few of the things that you can do with an Artwork Archive account if you wish, like creating online invoicing, responding to purchase requests that come through the public profile or private viewing rooms, and then implementing payment processing with PayPal, which is really helpful. Next slide. Okay, This one I'm excited about. It's like the party favor that you get at the end of the party. So one of my roles at Artwork Archive is keeping my ear to the ground for opportunities for organizations like museums. A part of that is funding. So at the request of Odette, I put together a list of funding opportunities I've seen. And this is by no means exhaustive. There are quite a few grants that were available in 2020 that we are waiting to see if they will be made available in 2021 for fiscal year 2022. And like Odette mentioned earlier, I wanted to call attention to our Artwork Archive Art Business Accelerator grant. That is closing soon, but we're hoping to launch it again next year. It is for visual artists, and it provides 10 2,500 unrestricted grants, a free Artwork Archive master account. Like I said, we also work with artists, and so they get an entire Artwork Archive account for the lifetime. And we'll also provide a free career building curriculum for all applicants. So anyone who applies to the grant will get our free curriculum, which is really great and has wonderful pillars and helpful information. The grant is due May 14th, which is like practically tomorrow, but the application is really easy. We wanted to make it so that visual artists could quickly get this off their plate and have the opportunity in their hands. So if you want to share this with the artists in your network, feel free. The link is in the bottom right. And you can also just Google Artwork Archive, Art Business Accelerator Grant, and the page will come up. So next slide. All right, so this may all seem daunting. Don't know how much is already on your plate. But if you don't have a collection management solution that gives you these tools, we encourage you to test one out, to use this as an opportunity to find solutions that may be more cost effective for you or easier to use. To look for a system with data migration so you don't lose the work that you've already recorded, say in Excel or in another database. It's also helpful to think about like working backwards. So to start with your most recent exhibition, your recent commission, donation, event, and then just go back in time. We like to say it's like, like a history lesson or like going through your college or high school yearbook. You can go back to things in the 90s that make you really happy. And then don't attempt to do it all in one day. It's a process, to be patient, to request employee help. If you're looking for an intern project, especially they don't have to be on site, they can do this as well. And I see the question from Ginger. Yeah, my hope is that actually I was going to say in this slide that along with the list of funding, I also linked to some Artwork Archive articles in some of these slides. And so Vidette will be sending out this presentation after as a PDF, so you'll have access to everything. All the funding opportunities are hyperlinked for you to easily access. And then my joke, yeah, you're welcome. My joke, I got really good at flossing during COVID. My dentist was like really impressed. She said that actually it's been like the opposite. People have like let things go, but that was like my thing. Like, I'm just gonna floss every night. I'm gonna clean something, keep something, healthy. So my gums are thankful, but long story, bad joke, short, that all of this, to just stay on top of it, little bits at a time. It doesn't have to be this like massive and cumbersome project to be like piled out into your lap. Like I said, just work with the most recent and go back, employ help, volunteers, interns. Yeah, next slide. And the Artwork Archive team is here to help me specifically. I, along with experts from around the country, have written articles to help arts organizations, collecting institutions. We have articles on collection management, exhibiting, marketing, conservation, art trends, and other helpful topics. We also write articles for artists and individual collectors too. And so this is also linked, so feel free to check it out. Next slide. And we're here to help. So I work with our organizations here at Artwork Archive. Here are a few ways that you can engage with us if you wish. You can join our newsletter with the link provided here. I send out a monthly newsletter about all collecting needs. We also have a newsletter for artists, and you can join both. We also have our collection management platform, and we have a special partnership with AAAM, which gives you all members 50% off of our platform, which actually only starts at $24 a month to begin with. So really, really affordable. And if you're interested, great, awesome. With the link, feel free to contact me if you're interested. But thanks to Vidette for setting that up for you all, for the members. And we're passionate about making sure museums are making that museums like yours that are making an impact have the tools and resources available to continue doing the work you're doing. And of course, you can always contact me directly if you have any questions. Here's my email. And if you have any stories you'd like to share with our audience, I'm always eager to listen and learn and to craft it into an article to share on our blog. And then we also have a video link as well, because we work with artists a lot, so visual learners. So we have some tutorials and some recordings of previous webinars that I have hosted in the past. Next slide. And a thank you, because that was a lot. And I know you're juggling quite a bit and probably facing Zoom fatigue still. So I sincerely thank you for taking the time to listen today. There are a lot of challenges we face today and many ahead, but art, since its beginning has shown us that we all have the power and ability to create, to inspire, and change our perspectives, environments, and situations. And so let art remind us that the work we do is incredibly meaningful and important, and is helping us and our country heal and to feed the soul. And so as the daughter of an artist, an art therapist, and art educators, I thank you for the work you do, and best of luck with your future endeavors and hopefully bringing your institution online. That's it.
Well, thank you so much, Alicion. Paige, do you mind pulling down the presentation, please? Or unsharing your screen, I should say. I feel like that. Thank you. Thank you so much. It's everybody. So we have a few questions, and I think, Keith, if you can unmute your mic and just ask one of your burning questions, because I see that you have rapid fire given us a whole bunch of questions, and I'm always so thankful for you, Keith. You give us such thought-provoking questions, and I don't want to miss a thing. So if you could just take yourself off mute and ask one burning question.
I guess the most burning question would be about the reproduction of the artwork and the protection of the work, if it's reproducible, as well as educational material. I think that'd be the most burning one for me.
Yeah, and so, oh, sorry.
No, I was just saying thank you.
Yeah, that's a great, it's a great question that we get a lot. And so there's a few things to address. So when you use an online art collection management system, what you're putting into your account privately, we always highly recommend uploading that high-res image file so you have access to it. You can share it, download it right from your account. If you do make things public, our system will automatically downsize your image to 70 DPI for online viewing. We have also disabled right-click as well to help keep images safe. That being said, there is the impact of putting things online and out there. And what we see at our institution, at Artwork Archive and the institutions that we work with, is the benefit of sharing it out and getting it into the experiences of all different types of communities is worth putting it out there. But we do everything we can to make sure that we are protecting those images. So downsizing, disabling right-click are two of the big ones. And then on those reports that I was sharing, the PDF, it's the same thing. It's a PDF. So it would be a downsized image with a lower res. And I've also seen people printing those PDFs, especially the portfolio pages, and leaving them in their galleries, sending them out to school groups to be consumed as like homework or part of their curriculum. But it's a really good question, and one we hear often. Did I
Thank you, Alicia. Keith, did she answer your question?
Most of my questions are just about information, so sure you answer the question, and anyone can feel free to ask any other questions that I put in the chat.
Thanks, Keith. If we can't get to them today, I'll make sure that Alicia responds to them, and then everyone who has seen the questions will receive an email format from Alicia's responses. Gina, can you take yourself off mute real quick to ask your question?
Sure. Thank you. What I was wondering about is on the feature that allows you to accept submissions from people.
Mm-hmm.
Is that all covered under the one fee, or is there any other fee related to the number of submissions, like the way Slide Room works? If you get Slide Room,
yeah,
pay a fee, but then you pay more the more submissions you accept.
Yeah, it's another great question. It's all part of your artwork archive plan. So pages are one of my wonderful artwork archive colleagues. Can you pull up our pricing page? I can just show you. So the artist submission form is part of the organization plan. Everything I showed you all today, including some other things that just weren't relevant. So we also have like maintenance tracking, which is wonderful for preserving, the artworks with treatments, conservation, annual maintenance that's done, is all included within an artwork archive organization plan. Also, I saw a question about data migration. We will also do an import into your artwork archive account for you. If you could just click on organizations, please, page. Yeah, we'll help migrate your data. So if you are interested in Artwork Archive and want to move over from a different database or your Excel spreadsheets, we'll migrate that data over for you in the images and populate your account. So you don't have to do all that heavy lifting, because that sounds like a chore. But yeah, as you can see, all the things, along with some other things that I didn't mention because it just wasn't part of the presentation. But the artist submission form is so huge. It reduces a lot of the admin. And if you have a relationship with the artists in your community, or even like outside of your community, it makes it really easy for you to get their information, also their contact information. People are getting married, they're getting divorced, they're moving, people are going into remote worlds. So this way you can keep all contact information up to date as well, because they can update that within the form. Thanks, Paige.
Thank you. Thank you, Gina. Thank you for your question. Thank you, Alicia. Terrence, can you take yourself off mute and ask your question?
Yes. Hi, everyone. Good to be home.
Terrence.
My question was in regards to NFTs, non-fungible tokens, and how the platform works in that space, both displaying, framing, and possibly selling or extending to sell.
Yeah, really, really good question. It's something that we're talking about right now. Right now, we have not had a need for them, and that we haven't had clients or users coming to the platform to support their them. And so we, like with digital art, you can upload any type of information and file. So you can keep track of the information, and especially around, like provenance, the information of who created it, when, the value of what you purchased it for, and be able to share it out. But when it comes to selling them, probably sit within the same mechanism that we already have for selling physical works. And honestly, you could sell digital works with the same thing. It's just like, here's the thing and here's the price, contact us and we'll take your money. Like it's really flexible to meet, as we're seeing our growing and diversifying like art world that is changing around us. Oh yeah, we're definitely keeping our ears to the ground. Actually, one of my colleagues wrote her master's dissertation on this topic and other digital art. So I'm picking her brain quite often. It's a really great question, Terrence. Really timely. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm looking at the chat. There's another question from Keith. How much staff is needed at the organization to manage the software and the archival database?
Yeah, and I see, Keith, you have another question about the minimum computer and system requirements for using the database. And so those are two in the same, in that when Paige pulled up our pricing plans, our plans are also differentiated by how many users need access. And so really it's up to your institution for the capacity that is needed. We've seen a lot of institutions just have one person. And sometimes that's just a volunteer that's managing this project for like the smaller organizations. And they just need one login and they go in. And then there's other institutions that have 10 users accessing it's the director, multiple curators, their development team, depending on the size of your institution and the type of collection that you're managing. The Artwork Archive will support you in all sizes, whether you're a volunteer run organization or a massive Met size institution with lots and lots of dollars and people. And so and requirements, the only requirement for accessing the database is, since we're online, is access to the internet. What's great, what's been really wonderful during COVID is you can access Artwork Archive from anywhere. You can access our online platform from your phone, from your tablet, from your home. For better or for worse, you can work from home now, so you don't have that excuse. And so it's been really helpful during COVID when people haven't been able to get into the offices, especially if they're using desktop-based systems.
Thank you, Elysion. Another question that Sharon just posed is, what is the level of computer equipment needed by the museum or organization or the individual to use your system?
A phone. Yeah, it's like it's since we're a cloud-based system, you can log in from any type of device. So whatever you're using to organize yourself, you can use. So you can be like probably a computer, right? And we work with PCs. Since we're cloud-based, we work with all different types like PC or Apple. But what's really great is since we're cloud-based, you can access us from any type of device. You can take a photo if you're say you're in an artist studio and you're talking with an artist, you can take a photo of their artwork and then open Artwork Archive on your phone in a browser and upload the image right there and the information as you're talking to the artist right there in the here and now. Same thing with a donor. If you're in their home and talking about artworks that they would like to donate into your collection, you can do that in real time, or with appraisers, conservators, the list goes on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's really helpful to have it in your hands at that time. You don't have to like write notes and then like get back to your desk and get it all in. And you mentioned this earlier, but like with all the questions, I, along with the presentation, my email will be inside the presentation, but also, but if you don't mind just sharing my email, if you have any questions. Another thing I do often and that I love is I do demos, like I'll walk through the platform if you're interested, or if you're even just interested in understanding more about online exhibits, whether it's using us or another platform. Happy to connect and also just to learn more about your organization. So my background is in public humanities. I'm all about making culture more accessible. So one of the things I love about my job is that it gives me the opportunity to connect with amazing institutions like yours and hear about the work you're doing.
Thank you so much, Elysion. And I thank everyone else. Does anybody else have a question before we just raise your virtual hand before we wrap up? Elysion, we are never out of questions. So if anybody's being, if anybody is being shy today, just know that they will send me a quick email and then we'll be getting it over to you. But this has been such an engaging conversation. Thank you for your time and commitment and sharing your talents, but then also sharing Artwork Archive with us. And thank you for the offer of 50% off for our members That is just so heartwarming to know that we have partners that are willing to give incentives to our members. The one thing that Elysion did point out, which I was very adamant about, but she was just like, okay, that makes sense to me, is I really wanted to make sure that you guys had resources for other grants that can underwrite your digitizing, your whatever you need to get you in a space where you can move on to Artwork Archive. So those were the federal grants, and then some foundations that she placed in the slide for you, and each one of you will receive the slide as well. Keith, I see your hand up. Please feel free to take yourself off mute and ask your question. We have 2 minutes and then I have to wrap up, sir.
Okay, this is a quick question. The software seems wonderful. I like the idea of it. How can individual artists and collectors utilize this software? And what specific aspects will appeal to that group of people?
Yeah, do you guys have another hour? I can just like pivot and show you. So actually, Artwork Archive was founded for artists. Our co-founder, John, built Artwork Archive for his mom. Coming up to Mother's Day, best mother's gift. Artists love us because we help them organize their art business. There are a lot of things, there are a lot of hats they have to wear. They have to be an entrepreneur, a marketer, a maker, an accountant, and they can keep track of every piece of information about their artwork and their career in Artwork Archive. So we have contacts, exhibitions, expenses, documents like their artist statements. So they can not only keep it all organized in one place, but with the similar benefits with organizations like yours, they can also then share this out, showcase it, market it, and connect with buyers. And so that's in a nutshell. And if you're curious, we also have a landing page devoted specifically to artists, and also some webinars for artists about why inventorying their career benefits, but inventorying their artwork benefits their career. And then for collectors, same, disorganization, you need to get their arms around the collection. A lot of collectors, have receipts in junk drawers, or, they haven't saved a lot of their documentation, or they have multiple homes and they don't know what's where. And they have various art professionals they need to work with, appraisers, conservators, gallerists, auction houses. So this way they can keep everything in one place. And then especially for planning for, wills, estate plans, to make sure that the artwork is properly being bequeathed, donated, sold as they wish. So that's in a nutshell what we do with artists and collectors. But I also work with our artists and collectors as well. I'm so happy to continue the conversation offline with you about how we work with them and with all of you if you're connected to individual collectors and artists. I'm happy to share that part of our business with you as well.
Very good question, Keith. And it sounds like Keith is going to call you for a demo. So get ready for that. And I'll probably have a conversation. We have tons of artists, tons of HBCUs that have galleries. Gina, who has taken herself off camera, Gina, I don't want to just keep putting your business out there, but are you still the head of Bowie's Gallery, or did you?
Okay. So I've shifted.
I just wanted
yeah, right now I am the gallery coordinator and the studio art coordinator. I am no longer the chair of the department. Woo-hoo.
Yes. So
yes, I have the gallery now, and we have a really nice permanent collection. So that's part of why I find this interesting. I'm actually wanting to move toward museum status. So I know that's something I talked to Vidette about. So
the accreditation?
Say that again.
Accreditation?
Yeah, whatever that means for us, that's what I would like to have, because I think that our administration will learn a little more about what there is to really respect about what we have, because they don't understand what we actually have. They understand it if we throw a dollar amount at them,
Mhm.
but they really don't understand what our collection is. We had a donation from Lydia Robbins, Dr. Warren Robbins' wife, of artwork, of African art. You know, I mean, it's amazing, and they just don't understand it.
Yeah. Oh, I would love to connect with you because so for those on the call too, within Artwork Archive, since you're putting the values, uploading appraisals, you can just give a dollar amount. If there's people who just need to see a dollar amount, like the value of the collection, we'll compile that for you. You can put it in a report. But there's so much more that makes your collection your collection. It's the artists' stories, their creative process. To give a snapshot of the where all the artworks are from, or the type of art that you're collecting, and how vast and varied, and what makes your institution so unique, and to be able to present that in an easy way, right? So you don't have to like create a PowerPoint, you don't have to like compile into a mail merge. You can just easily create like a private room in which they click through, they click into the work, they see the artwork, they can learn more about the artist, they can see the description, the history about the artwork, to help educate whomever needs to be educated on the importance of the work you're doing.
Thank
And then
you.
you also will have the archive of those exhibits too, and the ways that you're, or the news section, the ways that you're engaging with your community, and that it's not just the institution inside its four walls, like what the impact that you're generating out in the public as well.
Yeah.
I love talking about this kind of stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I want to have, like, on the website kind of a permanent home for this is our permanent collection, so
Yeah.
that anybody who's on the website can really see this is what we have, this is what we do, which of course will help fundraising. So
Oh, exactly. Yeah. Oh, we can help with that. Definitely.
And I like the fact that, Alicia, on what you guys have going on, our members can definitely have their museum without walls, even if their museum is temporarily closed, permanently closed, or just getting started. So we have a ton of museums that are just getting started, but they have collections. This space, I think, oh, Terrence, look at you with your shirt for, I'm sorry, guys, birds. With your, I love it. You're in the office. That's the type of stuff I love. Yes. Thank you. It's the whole thing of being able to have your museum without walls, especially if you're just up and coming and you're trying to figure out where you're going to put your collection. You can use the Artwork Archive and do that as well.
Yeah, actually, oh, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm actually working with a client right now at the Mask Museum in Phoenix, and their museum without walls. They're getting their funding right now, and they're using us to organize everything before the build out of the building, or like during the build out of the building, right? And then what they're doing, which is so smart, is they're generating excitement, awareness, getting the works out there that otherwise couldn't. And the other thing too I love about something like Artwork Archive, whether you use us or not, is that you can also like make things in storage accessible. Like if you can't present it out on walls because of the preservation and deterioration of it, you can still make something that's in storage public.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you, Alician, and thank you, Paige, for being our page turner. No pun intended. I really appreciate the two of you and your time, and all of you. Thank you for coming, AAAM members. Just one thing that I want to continue to bring to your attention, because I can't be Vedette and not do it. We do have the AAAM community. So just please log in with your Wild Apricot or your AAAM membership. Log in and create your own profile. It's really like a Facebook or a LinkedIn for AAAM members. So I put the link in, just go ahead and poke around. NEH paid for that. So whenever you see somebody from NEH, just say thank you. That was part of our grant that we received. So, all of the things that we do in AAAM, it's to support you all. So you can drop in this community. You can do things like letting folks know what events you have, questions that you may have about starting a new exhibit, and trying to just generate questions about whatever's in your head. Just feel free to download it there, and community members will respond to you as soon as possible. But thank you all so much. I appreciate you. Probably within the next 2 hours, you'll receive this recording along with the PowerPoint presentation. It will be emailed directly to you. If you do not receive it by 8 o'clock tonight, please follow up at info, and I'm sure by now all of you guys have this branded into your brains, but I'm going ahead and put it here anyway. Info@blackmuseums.org, and then somebody will forward it on to you. Okay? Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you. I love you. We're here for you, and I'll talk to you later. Bye. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Paige.
It was so wonderful to meet you all.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Enjoy the rest of your
Bye,
day.
everyone.
Bye. Thank you, Vidette. That was
Bye,
wonderful.
everyone. You're welcome.
Wonderful
You're welcome.
community you have.
Oh, it's beautiful. It just reminds me so much of everything else that we do. So this is truly amazing.
Well, props to you for cultivating such an incredible community. And I'll be in touch. If you can send me the comments, I'll make sure I'm addressing each question as well in that follow-up email to everyone.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you. I'll talk to you
It was
later.
lovely to meet you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Shirley.
Bye.